Hey guys, this is Steven here with another video on how to play some logic puzzles. This one's on a Deja Vu puzzle. Reminds me a lot of a pentominoes puzzle or philomenos, so if you like those, I think you'll enjoy this one too. The rules state that you must divide the grid into subsections such that every region has one letter, and every region with that letter must be the same shape and orientation as the other letters. Each region with the letter A will be a one-cell area. Every B region will have 2 cells, C regions will have 3 cells, and etc. Every cell will be part of a region as well, so there's not going to be any stranded cells all by themselves. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is try to solve this puzzle for you guys and share some common tips or tricks that'll hopefully make it easier for you to solve these yourself in the future. So the first place that I start is going to be the A's. Those are going to be the easiest because obviously those are already solved. They're islands, so what we can do is go ahead and just color those in and create little borders. And then from there, I typically look for the B's because those are going to be the next easiest, being only a size 2. And so we only have one B on the grid. Sometimes you're going to have more than one, but in this case, we only have one. Now, it's only got 2 areas it can go. It can't go up because otherwise it'd have another letter. Can't go down because that's the edge of the grid. So it either can come to the left or to the right. But if we go to the left, what ends up happening is we strand this cell or isolate this cell all by itself, and there's no way to get this cell to be a part of another region. So it can't come to the left, therefore it has to come to the right. And so we can go ahead and color that in and border that off. And then at this point, the puzzle starts to get a little bit tougher. And so that brings me to my first tip, which is you're going to look at each letter's limitations due to either edges or other letters. And you can then wall off those limitations in the other reoccurring letters. So for instance, if we look at the C's, we know all the C's cannot go up because this cell is limited by the letter above it. So every C, we can draw a wall to the top, knowing that none of these can go north. And then if you notice, there's a letter to the right of this C. So for every C, we can wall off going to the right. So you can see this C is now limited. It can either come to the left or go down. And you can see this C is also limited that it's next to the edge, so you can't go left. So what ends up happening is now all of these C's are very limited, and they can only come down for the next orthogonally adjacent cell. And so what I can do is I know all of those are going to be part of the C. And now the question is, does it continue to come down for its third cell, or does it come off to the right here? Well, we know it can't go to the left because you got this is the edge of the grid, and then here you have an E, so it can't come to the left. Can't come down here because this C would run into that B. So that only allows us to go to the right, and that will work for all of the C's. And so we can create that walled off area. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. And then what we can do is start working on the other letters. So another tip to consider is you can try to look for cells within the grid that can only be reached by one other letter. So this F, for instance, has to come up, and that's the only, this cell has to be used by this F. So we know that all of the F's come up one like that. So that's helpful. And then we also know that it has to come to the right because the F has to have 6 cells in it. So it has to escape that way. It has to continue escaping that way. And we basically just mirror it for the other F as well. So we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 cells. We need 2 more. Now, if you think about it this way, this F here, at most, can go to the right one more. So then it has to come down for its for an extra one. So we can draw that in. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm not finishing the entire shape all at once. And that's kind of my last clue, is that you don't need to solve the entire shape. You can solve a portion of it and then maybe move on to another letter and come back to it once you have more clues. But we know that the last cell of this F, because this F only has 5 cells right now, we need a 6th one. It has to be this cell here to be part of this F, because otherwise this cell is going to be stranded. And so we know that that F is going to kind of look like a, I guess that's an N with a little tail off to the left, and then the same can be done with this F, right? Again, this N with a little tail to the left. So the F's are now solved. If we look at the, well, let's look at this E. So we know that these 2 cells here have to be a part of that E, because there's no way for this D to come down like this and hit this bottom left cell, because that would be 5 for the D, and the D can only have 4 cells. Now the D could come straight down here and hit this cell, but then again we'd strand this one off to the side. And so this has to be part of the E, and therefore that has to be part of the E, that has to be a part of the E, and that has to be part of the E. And we can mirror that shape up here like that. And then what you could see is this E shape is only 4. We need a 5th one. Well, this can't come down or to the right, so it's either going to be up here or here, and that would work for here or here as well. But let's color this in just so you guys know what I'm talking about. So this E could have the 5th cell here like that, but then what would end up happening is you would strand this one cell here. This would be an isolated cell, so you know that that can't work. Therefore it has to be this cell, and that works because now the E has 5 cells as part of the shape. I guess that's a little Deja Vu pentamino, and so that works really well. And then we think about this D here. This D has to be used for all of these cells, because there's no way this G is going to come down there, right? If the G comes down like this, it's blockaded, because again the shapes can only move orthogonally. So we know the D's are actually going to be squares, with the D in the top right corner like that. And then the G is solved. The G is going to be 7 cells. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that mirrors it there. So that is how you do a Deja Vu puzzle. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I think it's, you know, again, it reminds me a lot of a Filomeno or a Pentamino puzzle, but with a little bit of a twist. So I enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more like this in the future. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.